The episode begins with Mordecai and Rigby at the coffee shop watching a trailer for generic zombie movie number 58,000, when Rigby announces that he had bought tickets for the film's opening night for the two of them. Unfortunately, Mordecai informs him that he already bought tickets for generic chick flick movie number 67,000. Rigby is understandably pissed.
What? But it's opening night! Do you know how hard it was to get these tickets? I saw the preview. They're just gonna sit around talking about their feelings. Fully clothed.
Especially when Mordecai reveals that he intends to ask Margaret, a worker at the shop who he barely knows, but still has a massive crush on, to go see it with him. However, when he gets around to asking her, he immediately gets nervous and just awkwardly mumbles. Rigby then somehow manages to break the awkward silence with a lame pun. Margaret then gives Mordecai and Rigby their orders, but after Rigby informs her that she got his wrong, she reveals that she's been stressed out lately, as she's currently in the middle of moving out of her old apartment, and upon seeing an opportunity, Mordecai immediately offers to help her out later, to which she accepts. So Mordecai doesn't have the guts to ask Margaret out, and yet is quick to do manual labor for her. Classic simp energy right there. In all seriousness, Mordecai isn't offering his help out of sincere kindness, but because he thinks it'll make Margaret like him, which is a completely shallow mindset, especially since at this point in the series, the two of them are only acquaintances at the most. Rigby then continues to make Margaret laugh with more jokes that would make even dads cringe.
Everything okay, Margaret? You seem like you've got a full plate. Oh, we don't mind. It'll be a moving experience for all of us.
After Margaret leaves the scene, Rigby brags about how much of a Riz master he is, much to Mordecai's annoyance. And when Rigby calls Mordecai out on his obvious jealousy, he denies it like the sole loser that he is. In the next scene, Mordecai and Rigby are helping Margaret bring her belongings into a moving van, and Mordecai makes another embarrassing attempt to ask her out, which goes about as well as you would expect. After Mordecai blows his chance yet again, Rigby continues to woo Margaret with more puns, which makes me wonder if he's actually good at flirting, or if Margaret is just easily won over by stupid jokes. When Margaret briefly leaves the scene, Mordecai demands Rigby to stop flirting with her, and accuses him of ruining his chances of getting with her. Excuse me. First of all, Mordecai, you are not entitled to Margaret, you creep. Second, Rigby isn't getting in your way, you are, as you had multiple chances to ask Margaret out, but you had fumbled at doing so each time, so just take the L. Rigby then once again calls Mordecai out on his blatant jealousy, and bets that he could easily ask out Margaret. When Margaret returns, Mordecai fails to work up the courage to ask her out for the third time in a row, and so Rigby swoops in and asks her to see the zombie flick with him, to which she says yes. Side note, given Margaret's excitement for the horror movie, there is also a chance that she might not have been too fond of seeing that chick flick, and Mordecai only brought tickets for it because he assumed that she would be into it, solely because she's a woman. There was also that time when Margaret expressed love for heavy metal music in a previous episode, caffeinated concert tickets. Therefore, if you actually paid attention to her, Mordecai, instead of constantly making googly eyes at her, you would know that her tastes in entertainment are not as stereotypically feminine as you assumed. What are you, a sexist? After Margaret drives off, Mordecai backpedals and asks Rigby if he can go to the zombie movie with him, but Rigby tells Mordecai that he will only do so if he admits that he's jealous of him, and instead of learning some humility, Mordecai proceeds to throw a temper tantrum, despite being a fully grown man. Afterwards, there is a montage of events involving Rigby finding ways to rub in the fact that he's going out with Margaret in Mordecai's face, while counting down the hours until the date. The episode even breaks the continuity of Rigby being terrible at video games, just so he can stroke his ego. I would say that Rigby has been a massive prick here, although it's not been compared to what Mordecai would do to Rigby later in this episode. In the next scene, there is only 20 minutes until the date, and Mordecai threatens Rigby to call it up. When Rigby refuses, Mordecai reveals to him that he stole the battery in his watch in order to make him miss his date. Yup, he really is that petty. Mordecai then takes it a step further by taking literally every clock and other devices that tell time in an attempt to force Rigby to cancel the date. Rigby instead rightfully calls out Mordecai for taking things too far over his childish jealousy, and Mordecai, being the immature man baby he is, proceeds to shove all of the clocks into the microwave and turns it on. And well, this happens. Yeah, in case you've never seen Regular Show before, and are confused as to what's going on, don't worry. These insanely over-the-top situations happens in the climax of every episode. That's a part of the appeal of Regular Show. Each episode starts off with a completely mundane, slicer-like plot, only to snowball into something bonkers. And it's awesome. Anyway, back to the episode. As Mordecai and Rigby fly through this dimension, a massive argument starts out between them, and the points Rigby makes to Mordecai are truly cathartic. However, in a fit of rage, Mordecai shoves Rigby to his death. No, seriously, that's what happens. Now, some people had defended Mordecai's actions here, pointing out how this was a knee-jerk reaction, along with the fact that he immediately expressed regret after seeing Rigby get obliterated. Although, I highly doubt this defense would hold up in a court case. Afterwards, Mordecai ends up in an empty space, where he encounters a godlike being made of clocks, who refers to himself as Father Time, who proceeds to show Mordecai the events of the episode, and only then does he realize that he had been a simp, and above all, an awful friend. But quite conveniently, Father Time reveals that he can reverse time back to the beginning of the episode, and give Mordecai a second chance, if he promises to not make the same mistakes. And he agrees, and so time gets reverted to the beginning scene of the episode, where this time, Mordecai accepts Rigby's offer to go see the zombie movie with him. Mordecai then tries to woo Margaret with a copy pun that isn't actually a pun. Seriously, how does one fail at the lowest form of comedy? Rigby then makes the same pun that he made in the first timeline, and just like last time, Margaret laughs, which pisses off Mordecai, and when Rigby accuses him of being jealous, Mordecai admits to it slightly, although it's mostly because he now knows the extremely bizarre consequences of his pettiness. And I would say that he had learned his lesson and grown from this experience, but having seen the rest of the series, I can confirm that that is far from the case. Let's review. Mordecai turned down his best friend's offer to see a movie that they both enjoy with him, in favor of asking out a woman he barely knows. He made several attempts to invite Margaret to go to the movies with him, but had squandered his chances every time due to his awkwardness. And then he has the nerve to get pissed at Rigby, when he successfully flirts with Margaret, with actual competence and charisma. He then loses his mind with jealousy, when Rigby scores a date with Margaret, and then takes his pettiness to the extreme, by taking literally every device that tells time in the house, and destroys them in order to make Rigby miss his date. And even when his actions send the two of them flying through time and space, he still had the nerve to blame Rigby for the mess that he created, claiming that he ruined his chances to ask out Margaret, even though he blew his own chances. Plus, he was not entitled to her. When Rigby calls him out on his BS, Mordecai retaliates by shoving him to his demise, and it took the death of his best friend and a godlike figure to tell him up, for Mordecai to finally realize that he was in the wrong, and he gets a second chance, when time gets reverted to the beginning of the episode, which is a luxury most people who screw up never get, because unlike Mordecai, they're not fictional characters with plot armor. So, for being a spineless simp and an awful friend, screw you, Mordecai. Hey, before I go, I'd like to ask you, the audience, for your feedback in the comments section, as I'm doing a little experiment with this mattneff inspired video. So I would love to know if you enjoyed it, and if so, let me know if you want more videos like these on either Mordecai or other loathsome animated characters. Anyway, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for notifications. Also give this video a like, share, and comment. Alright, see ya!